England has Shakespeare, Russia has Tolstoy, China has Lu Sheng. The short story we will be examining the next 2 weeks is Lu Sheng's Diary of a Madman. The author of this short story, Shun, was born to a family with declining wealth, so he knew how people lived and thought on both sides of the track. This author was training to be a medical doctor when he was inspired to join the ranks of writers who were making a difference. Chinese intellectuals like Lu Sheng began a literary magazine called The New Youth that was clearly tied to the new cultural movement within China. This movement was critical of Confucius thoughts and Western thought as well. One of the pieces he wrote was Diary of a Madman, published in 1918. Inspired by Shun's writings, the common people rallied, and the result was a student protest in Tiananmen Square in response to the Treaty of Versailles. The people were beginning to recognize that they needed to have a voice within the government. Shun was viewed as the voice of China's conscience for a country on the verge of revolution, struggling between egalitarian and authoritarian impulses. He wanted the people to be able to speak for themselves in the debate that was shaping China. He was known as the Sage of Modern China and the Commander-in-Chief of China's Cultural Revolution. Eventually, he was championed by the Chinese Communist Party. Shun's prior medical education provided a natural backdrop for the introduction to the short story where a doctor sets the stage for the reader. The doctor believes there's something significant in the diary he is about to share. In this short story, Shun creatively presents fiction cloaked as non-fiction writing. The diary is written from the perspective of an insane man whose descent into madness comes from living in an oppressive society. It's significant to note that this short story is the earliest manifestation of I, that is, the capital letter I, literature. Shun boldly encourages the reader to consider the I of the madman, then reflect on his own perspective, or his own I. Shun wanted the reader to be the inquisitor of his or her own soul, refusing to be an accomplice to history, but willing to stand out in the crowd. Shun was asking the reader what the real sickness was within their society, and if they were part of that sickness. In the short story, the madman is distracted with what he is seeing in the eyes of the people in his community, but Shun wanted the reader to take a good long look into the eyes of the country's leaders and citizens and determine what the truth was concerning their agenda for the people. Shun presents his challenge as a satirical piece. I like to find satire as the ridiculous with an honest message. Consider the image on this slide. What is the artist trying to say about evolution? Is there some truth that needs to be considered? According to this artist, there is. Shun believed that truth gives life to satire. He knew there was a close connection between realism and satire. He knew that within the ridiculous, he could send a message to the people. Usually, satire is aimed at the rich, but Shun aims it at the common people who needed to find their voice. That voice was found a few years later when the people rallied for a demonstration in Tiananmen Square. In order for you to understand the power of Shun's message within this short story, you will be investigating the political culture in China in 1918 during the author's life and the details found in the Diary of a Madman.